So we may be 1,300-ish days away from the 2028 election, but it is already beginning to happen. People are positioning themselves, moves are being made. So with that in mind, I broke down the 8 people that I think have the best chance at being the 2028 Republican presidential nominee. And if you missed my 2028 Democratic rankings, the 8 who have the best chance to be the Democratic nominee, go check that out. It's in another video. All right, so I'm going to start with my second tier. So I have 3 tiers. I'm skipping the third tier entirely. You don't need the third tier. I'm going to start with my second tier, and then I'm going to give you the top tier. So you got to stick around. You got to eat dinner to get to dessert. All right, so second tier. These are people I would say have a real chance, and I think probably will run, but they are not, I would call, the front runners. All right, here we go. I got 5 of them. Number 1, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas. So Abbott has been the governor of Texas, it seems like forever, but it's only been a decade. He is obviously the governor of a gigantic state, a reliably Republican state. He's put together a pretty conservative record while governing that state. And I think he's probably at his limit in terms of how long he wants to be governor of Texas, which means that the 2028 presidential election is probably appealing to him. Now, what do we know Abbott can do? Definitely raise money. And he is, I think, a pretty savvy candidate. He has navigated the kind of move of the Republican Party to MAGA well, in my opinion. He also has a pretty compelling personal story. If you don't know it, Greg Abbott's in a wheelchair. He was not born that way. He was out running when he was in his mid-20s. There was a storm, a tree fell on him, and he was paralyzed from the waist down. So he's in a wheelchair, and I think that's kind of an interesting, compelling story to tell. So he's my first. My second, Ted Cruz. Now, this is another guy from Texas, and Cruz obviously ran in 2016. He was the second finisher to Donald Trump in that race, and if you remember it, Cruz got a lot of attention, most of it bad, because he refused to endorse Donald Trump at the 2016 Republican National Convention, right? He was given this speaking slot. He chose not to endorse Trump. Trump went insane and attacked him, etc. I mean, not physically, but attacked him verbally, etc., etc. Well, Cruz has spent the last 8 years trying to make up for that. I think he's done a pretty good job if that was his goal, right? Trump endorsed him in his last re-election race. Cruz has become sort of a very public defender of Trump. And look, Cruz wants to run for president again. And I think he's going to run for president either in 2028 or 2032. I think probably 2028. The advantage he has on the rest of the people in this field, or most of the people in this field, is he's done it before. And he came pretty damn close to winning. And I think there's real value in that. All right, my third, Brian Kemp. So Brian Kemp is the governor of Georgia. You will probably not remember him, except that he battled very publicly with Donald Trump because he refused to say that the 2020 election was stolen in Georgia. Trump went after him. Trump fielded a primary challenge to him. And Brian Kemp, unlike almost every other elected official that Trump has gone after, absolutely beat Trump at his own game. He won the primary challenger that Donald Trump recruited against him. He beat him badly, 72-28. Smashed him in 2022. Now, Kemp is being recruited to run for Senate in 2026 against John Ossoff in Georgia. If he does that, he's not going to run for president. If he doesn't do that, though, I think there's a real chance he does run for president, and he's an option of people who are fine with Trump but are kind of ready to move on. I don't know if the party will be there, but that's what Kemp, I think, would offer. Before I do my final 2 second tier and my 3 top tiers, let me say this. I need you to subscribe to this channel. I am an independent news guy now. Worked for 20 plus years at CNN and the Washington Post. I'm out on my own now. I'm independent in that no bosses rule me or tell me what to do or what to say. I don't have a billionaire owner. I don't have a big corporation behind me. It's just me. And I'm independent in the sense that I'm not right, I'm not left. I'm calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. I think that really matters, and I hope you'll subscribe. All right, let's finish up with my 2 other second tier candidates, and then we'll get to the top tier. Marco Rubio. Rubio obviously ran in 2016. Not a great campaign. Started off pretty well, ended really badly. He has been in the Senate. He is now the Secretary of State in Donald Trump's administration. Now, that is a stepping stone, I think, for Rubio to run for president. I think he wants to run as kind of a guy who's got the gravitas. He was America's diplomat. He understands all the problems of the world and he knows how to fix them. That kind of mentality. Now, the thing with Rubio is that he's a really talented politician. He's pretty charismatic. He's good on his feet, generally speaking. But his 2016 campaign wasn't great. And I just don't know if he's ever going to be Trumpy enough for the Trump people. He obviously went after Trump in 2016. I mean, all of the candidates did. But I think he's less labeled as anti-Trump maybe than Cruz, and maybe that helps him. Last person on the list in the second tier, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders was Trump's first press secretary at the White House. She is now the governor of Arkansas. She was elected in 2022. She's almost certainly going to get reelected in 2026. She's the only woman I have in the top 8 because I think she's the most obvious female representative or heir to the Trump dynasty. And we're going to talk more about the Trump dynasty in a minute. But look, she's the governor of a very Republican state. She obviously has close ties to Trump. Maybe she's more of a VP than a president at this point, but I do think she will look hard at running. All right, so my second tier, the top 5 in the second tier are Greg Abbott, governor of Texas, Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, Marco Rubio, the secretary of state, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, which brings me to the top 3. The top tier. Now, I'm not going to rank these 3. I think, they're similar, although there's a top 2 and then there's a 1. Let's start with the 1. Glenn Youngkin is the governor of Virginia. I almost put him in my second tier, but I thought that Youngkin might deserve more, and I'll tell you why. So he is the governor of Virginia, elected in 2021. Virginia has a very dumb rule that you can only serve a single term as governor. Now, you can come back after 4 years out, you can come back, but you can only serve one 4-year term, which means that Youngkin, at the end of this year, will be out of a job. Youngkin is an interesting guy in that he is one of the very rare Republicans who has been able to do a couple things. One, placate the kind of MAGA base, keep them in line, while also 2, not losing establishment Republicans, while also 3, winning over some independents and even some Democrats. That's a very hard coalition to build. And Youngkin is one of the few people who's done it. He's a rich business guy. He's going to point to what he did in a swing state if he does run. Now, my question with Youngkin is, he's a guy who was running a big company, who wears vests. He's very establishment. And does the Republican Party want establishment after Donald Trump? Okay, my top 2. 1 is Donald Trump Jr. Yes, the eldest son of the President of the United States. Some people roll their eyes when I say this, but I really think you have to take Don Jr. seriously. He is going to run for something in the near future. I don't know if it's president or not, but he is going to run for something. He has shown a knack on the campaign trail to understanding kind of the id of the MAGA movement. He is literally the heir to Donald Trump. I'm the eldest boy. He is, I think, a guy who could reasonably make the case that if people want to carry the torch of Donald Trump forward, he's the best guy to do it. Now, the problem there is, and this leads me to my other most likely nominee, J.D. Vance, the problem is that Don Jr. and J.D. Vance are friends, actual friends. And Don Jr. pushed J.D. Vance really hard as the VP. Is Don Jr. going to run and push J.D. Vance out or run against J.D. Vance? I mean, anything's possible. This is politics, but maybe not. All right, so let's talk about Vance. He's obviously the front runner at this point. He's the vice president of the United States. He's 40 years old. When he was picked, I think, very purposefully as a way to carry the Trump legacy forward. He's sort of the political son of Donald Trump, whereas Don Jr. is the literal son of Donald Trump. Vance has taken some stances, whether it's fighting with Zelensky, whether it's scolding the world, as he has done about how they have approached defense. He has taken stances that endear him to the Trump base. That's a very potent base. And as the sitting vice president of the United States, he's going to get a lot more chances to do that. He's going to meet donors. He's going to meet activists. He's going to be seen as kind of Donald Trump's literal second in command. Now, the only issue I have for Vance is that he has to walk a tightrope. Because by 2026, early 2027, he needs to make clear he wants to run. The issue with that is Donald Trump, Sr., doesn't really like when people who he employs do things that are for them as opposed to for him. And running for president by J.D. Vance is clearly a thing that benefits J.D. Vance and doesn't directly benefit Donald Trump. he has to worry about getting crosswise with Trump. That is going to be a very delicate dance. So, my top 8. The top 3, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump Jr., Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. The next 5, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Secretary of State and former Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Could someone outside of those 8 be the nominee? Of course, if I did this list in 2013, Donald Trump wouldn't have even been on it, right? We're 3 years out. But right now, I think that's where it shakes out. Those are the people. If you said to me today, Chris, where is the Republican nominee coming from? I think it's going to come from one of those 8, at least at the moment. But things change. Thank you for checking out this content. As I said before, I hope you become a subscriber. Independent, not controlled by big media, and independent, not controlled by either party. I think that's critically important. Other things you can do to help me to grow this channel. We are nearly at 70,000 subscribers, which is amazing. You can like and comment on this video and any of my videos. It helps my stuff get out to more people who aren't already subscribers, and hopefully they decide to become subscribers. And then just word of mouth. Just tell people you know about what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it. Call them balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. I think it's important. I hope you think it's important. Please tell people about it so that we can keep growing. All right, everyone. Take care.